Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Alien vs. Predator Galaxy podcast. This is Aaron Percival from the future. Just wishing everybody a happy new year, and also just to bring a quick word of warning, as a Alien trailer once told us, and that's just that we had a little bit of technical difficulty with the following episode. If you're listening to the audio version, I have tried to clean this up as best I could and to edit around some of the more difficult parts. If you're watching the video version, I apologize. I haven't touched it. I don't really do much of a cleanup job on the video versions of our episodes, so apologies. Hopefully it's still, for whichever version you're listening to, hopefully this is still enjoyable and you can hear what's going off. But yeah, like I said, just a word of warning. But yeah, like I said, just a word of warning. Enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Alien vs. Predator Galaxy podcast. This is regular host Aaron Percival, aka Corporal Hicks, and joining me is my fellow host who has been born into a life of servitude that we are just trying to escape.
Adam Zeller, aka RidgeTop.
And we are back with the... I feel like it's an ironic name on his web chat there with the great in front of it. But that works, and absolutely, because he is one of the incredibly talented people to have joined this pantheon of fantastic artists that work on the Alien franchise, Mr. Dane Hallett. Welcome back to the show, Dane.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me, man, and thanks for the kind words.
Thanks for coming on. I'm glad I'm able to join on this one, since your last time here was Alien Covenant 2017.
Nearly every episode, Adam says something that makes me feel like 1,000 years old, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah, man, it's how it feels. Right?
Yo, you with your more impressive beard now. I don't remember it ever being that black. And
I've been accused of dyeing it black, which makes me feel profoundly proud. Of course, I would never do something as lame as that. I'm wearing my bold top with my bold patch with pride. You know, I'll go down disgraceful.
I feel that for sure. I'm dealing with that.
with the thinning headline, Adam.
Yeah,
bless.
Unfortunately,
mine just gets more wild, but white and grey, and I hate it. But this isn't old men comforting themselves podcast. We are here to talk about a fantastic reinvigoration of the Alien franchise, a much needed, I think, reinvigoration of the Alien franchise. And we are chatting to one of the men responsible for that. So, Dane, you were, of course, this time round, or a bit general. Well, no, I don't want to say general. You were the creature concept artist rather than... I think we decided on you being like a set deck kind of illustrator on
last
Covenant
time.
When we spoke.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that was pretty weird. But yes, that's right. Yeah, this time I did just get to do monsters, which that's it, man. Bucket list.
Now, while you're back here to talk about Romulus, we've established it's been 7 years, fucking hell. But during that time, you were still quite active within the franchise. In those intervening years, you put out David's drawings. You were involved in 40 Years, 40 Artists. Can you tell our audience a little bit about your experiences working on those things before you came back to Romulus?
Yeah, sure, man. I mean, look, I love Alien. I've said that a million times, and I'll probably say it a million more times on this episode. But I, pretty much as soon as I got associated with the franchise, I kind of knew like a very annoying fucking piss trough fly, that I would just stick around and just stay there with the franchise, so I'm not sure how much I talked to you guys about how I got the book, brought the book into reality, but obviously
I helped you, don't you remember?
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. But that's exactly it, though. It wasn't me sitting around waiting for them to come to me, or for Fox to just do a book, because there's every chance that Fox might have done a book and not even ever
involved.
even
Yeah,
attributed to an artist, you know, like. And then I
that's
had said at the
I think that's a problem with the making of an art of books, because I mean, don't get me wrong, we're all sat here lamenting that Romulus doesn't have one, and we're all pissed off about it. But the ones that we do get, it's like they don't. I don't feel like they respect you guys. They don't credit the artwork properly. They don't have the context in there properly. But I mean, at least we have them, I guess.
It's true, but I think like something as fundamental as even knowing where the images were generated and what they were generated for, and for any one thing that's been designed, you know, there's maybe 50 iterations before that are pretty interesting. If you look at the chest blister from Romulus, you know, there's the one that I did with the legs folded up in the hands, you know, like that's where those books, those are the best ones where you get to explore those different iterations of the shit that the artists were trying before they got approved. And you know, the art books that come out now predominantly like faces of the actor, or you know, like it's like a 4-page spread on like one character that is just the face of the actor, and then just information from the film that you already know. And if you're a fan, you already know that information, you know, like, as opposed to really comprehensive ones where they break down, oh, you know, this is why this was important, and that's why the costume designer chose to do this, and blah, 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 blah. But so yeah, man, I completely agree that a lot of them are kind of trashy. They I knew before. I suspected that Fox would try to make a book out of David's drawings from Covenant, because why wouldn't you? But then I was concerned that maybe they would just splurge it all in together with no idea. Not only that, I knew they didn't know where all the files were, because no one's keeping tabs on that stuff. And by the time the production's wrapped, I'm on to the next movie or working somewhere else. No one thinks to ask me, you know, like some of those drawings got thrown out. Some of those physical drawings got thrown out. Got literally thrown out by the art department assistants told me later on. They're like, I'm really sorry, Dan, I had to throw out your drawings. There's nowhere to store them. I mean, I don't give a shit. Like I already got what I wanted to get out of it. But yeah, it's just how it is, you know. It's the film industry is such a churn and burn operation that people struggle to, you know, think about the future. Anyway, that's why when, you know, that's why I flew to Los Angeles to talk to those people, to convince them to do the book. And of course they were totally open to it, and I had to get a lawyer, and I had to do all of that shit to make it an actual thing. So yeah.
So that was pitched from you directly to Fox, as opposed to like Titan.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think I've shared it online, but after hours I did a pitch of what exactly it would be, and I broke it down. Like it was literally an image of the book and how the book would look. It's not what they went with in the end, but that's not the important part. The important part is that I actually made the pitch, and then I showed what it's like when it's opened and how it breaks down into chapters, and then also wrote like a fake blurb on the back of it where it just talked about like explore David's journey from, you know, botanical nonsense into complete madness, you know. And that's what that's what I was sending to producers and people at 3 a.m. and Ridley Scott's people to say, hey, I think you could do this book however you want to do it, but you're probably better off deferring to the people responsible for the drawings, because we know what we were thinking when we did them, and we could also, you know, put them together. And I remember going to Matt Haddon, who obviously was the other artist in the book. I remember going to Matt one night, and I was cooking, and I said, Matt, how would you feel? Now, I knew that Ridley wanted to take our drawings, and some part of me as an artist was more like, no, I want to steal them. Like, I want to take them back home and have them. But then I caught myself out. I was like, no, that's a shitty way of thinking. You know? I would much rather have my work given to everybody, and it's in their house, and people are talking about it, you know? And so I asked Matt, I go, Matt, I got an idea. There's 2 ways we can do this. I can raise this idea where we do a book, you know, but then there's every chance Ridley's just going to be aware that the work is here and he's going to take it. Or I keep quiet and we keep the work. And that doesn't say, no, I think I'd rather hang on to the work. As soon as he said that, I just knew I was like, nah, I'm not gonna be that like meek about this. I was like, nah, I'm going, man. I'm doing it. So then I made that pitch, and then I hit up production to try to get the right emails to the right people, to try to get to the publishers to them. I even got turned down, you know, and the chick I emailed this girl and I said, look, I think this is great. I need to do a book. Do you want to talk about it? They're like, oh, look, we don't know. And I said, well, listen, I'll be in Los Angeles in 2 weeks. Maybe we could get together and talk about it. Oh, you'll be in Los Angeles? Absolutely. Now, of course, I wasn't going to be in Los Angeles. So as soon as I got off the phone to her, I just immediately booked a flight to Los Angeles. That was it. And when I was there, like I had like 5 meetings with the marketing guys. And of course, I was there by myself. I paid for the flight by myself. I did everything on my own, but that's the hustle that it takes to get that, and of course now the book as it exists is probably one of the coolest fucking business cards I could have ever dreamt of. And same as the Alien 40 Years, 40 Hours. Like they didn't offer much money, and I just said, oh look, you don't need to pay me a lot, but what I would encourage you to do is put me on the cover. And they were like, oh, depends on how good the drawings are. Like here's seven drawings. And they were like, oh yeah, of course, And there are some people out there in the world that get frustrated that they don't get this kind of the attention or accolades for that kind of shit, but they don't realize that half of it is just a hustle. It's just me asking for shit, It's the same as taking photos of Ridley Scott on Covenant. I asked. It's not like Ridley was like, where's these great artists? No, I found his assistant. I talked kindly to her and then said, I hear that Ridley's a big fan of the drawings. Do you think he'd want to take a photo with us? Yeah. And so the official stills photographer took those photos. And again, it's only because I asked. It's not because there's any it's same as being on the DVD, the Blu-ray, the exact same thing. I'm sitting at my desk and a girl walks past me saying, the publicist, she's really hot on your work. And I go, is that a fact? No worries. I just rolled up a print, skateboarded down to the set, and I said, who's the publicist? They're like, well, that's her over there. I go, I heard you're a big fan of these drawings. I just wanted to give you God, that's amazing. You know what I should do? I should interview you. What a fucking fantastic idea. I think that's a great idea. And that is exactly what happened. Again, because I asked,
Oh,
and,
man. Isn't that how it is as an artist? You just got to make it happen yourself, right?
Well, I mean, you could be a fantastic artist, but be very meek. Or, a lot of artists have like a victim mentality where they're waiting for someone to come to them. And how come they don't know how good I am? Look at how good my work is. And the truth is, I don't think my work is that great, and I don't think it's as good as any other one artist's work. But I think it's good enough to be appreciated by someone, and I don't think that it's a bad thing to get it in front of them. And so that's how I approach it.
So
I didn't mean to talk about the hustle.
Well,
I didn't mean to talk about the hustle, but I'm very proud of the hustle because without it, I wouldn't have had that. And
I feel like it's an important lesson for people to know, though, as well. Especially because there's probably artists and creatives listening to this right now as well. Anyway,
perhaps they think I'm a sellout, but I don't look at it that way. It's a little bit like networking. People look down on networking, but me personally, I'm a very amiable person, and I enjoy connecting with other people, especially if they're passionate. And so, if it just so happens that we are helping each other out as filmmakers or people working in the film industry, that's cool, man, and I like that, and that is exciting to me. So I don't look at it as being as commodifying my peers. I want to fucking spend time with them. I genuinely want to connect with them, and I enjoy it. And it was and I've got many jobs that way, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but while it's here and it's good, I'm enjoying it. So, yeah.
And I think artists who are really passionate about Alien are serious about it when in between like official projects they're on, they do their own Alien stuff that they put out, and you put out some really cool just Alien fan art that you've just posted on your socials, and some of my favorites have been the Alien movie posters you did for the original film.
Thank you.
And I know you also had some work in the 40 Years, 40 Artists book. Your work's on the cover of that as well.
Yep. Yeah, look, I was drawing Alien before I was on Alien, like before I was attached to the franchise. I was already like hopelessly passionate about the Predator franchise, the Alien franchise, and to a lesser extent even the Terminator movies, the first two. And
sorry, what was that last one?
Terminator. The Terminator movies, yeah. Just the first two. Everything. Well, Salvation's got its merit. that's a different story.
I also like Salvation. Yeah, that's my third favorite.
Well, at least they were trying some shit, you know. I don't think they pulled it off necessarily, but it's enjoyable. And of all of those movies, I'll go back and watch that one as the third one. Yeah. Fucking incredible sound design, by the way. Completely useless information. Beautifully shot. Shane Holder. Who cares? Going back to 40 Years, 40 Artists. Yeah, that I don't know. There was one of the time people mentioned it, and like I explained to you before, my pitch to them. I immediately, when someone talks about being interested in my stuff, I immediately think about, well, how can they help me? What can they give me that's worth more than money? And I feel like that every unsuccessful artist is someone that thinks about, oh, how can I get paid the most out of this experience? And I don't really care. I would have done that cover for free. I would have done it for free because, you know, if you Google that book, what will come up is a breakdown of the book. It'll say this. It'll say a new book featuring the cover work by Covenant artist Dane Hallett and insights from the great film director Denis Villeneuve. You know, which means that in the same fucking sentence, I got my name mentioned as Denis, right? And no one gives a shit. No one cares. But when you Google and the algorithm pays attention to things like that, it does help to raise your profile. And I would have done that cover for free if I knew that it was going to lead to that. Now, of course, you don't know what it's going to lead to, but that's why I agreed to do cool shit for cool people as often as I possibly can, if I have the time to do it. And it just leads to more work, you know. And again, there are some artists that they're not very conscious of how that can help them. And their first question is, oh, how can I get paid the most out of this experience? But there is a different economy, man. There is a different economy. And if you know what you want, which me as a filmmaker know what I want, I need to be in bed with great people like Fede Alvarez and Ben Trachtenberg and people like that, so that I can count them as peers, you know, more so than just, oh, it was very good that I got to work on that movie. It's not what happens with me. I've got like a big personality, and I like to inject myself into the space, and I just enjoy it. So.
It's a mentality some of the better tie-in authors need to have as well. You know, tie-in working on an Alien book doesn't pay much, but if you do it well and you do a good job, you then find yourself with a fan base to go across to your other original stuff that you'll get better from.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, the hustle. It's knowing how to work the industries that you're playing in properly.
Yeah, and it's funny as well, being confident enough to be proud of it and to swing it, you know, like a little bit like going to San Diego to sign the books as well, like meeting people there and just being confident in, like, especially as artists. I mean, we all fucking hate ourselves. If you're a good artist, then you hate yourself, right? It's just how it is, because that means that you're always striving to be better, and it's just how it is. Like, you let that be the dictating sort of voice in your head, then you'll sort of, no one's going to acknowledge you or care, and by the time you're dead, you just got to ask yourself if it was worth it. You know, being that meek and being that quiet about it, was it worth it? Did you get it? By the time AI came around, I remember every drawing I did, I would approach it with integrity and not want to copy or trace or just use shit off the internet. I liked challenging myself because I want to be able to look someone in the eye and go, oh no, I did that. That was mine, or that was a painting. I did that. And then when the AI came around, I was like, fuck, my integrity is worth nothing. It's actually worth nothing. And literally just last week, like within like 4 days ago, the job that I was working on, the designer came to me with a whole bunch of AI shit. Because I think we should try it this way. So much for that integrity. I'm glad I sold out as early as I did. That was good.
You're hitting me in the artist feels there. But one of the things we always love to hear about is how people got involved in the production.
Yep.
Did Naaman Marshall or Fede Alvarez seek you out because of your work on Covenant? What were those first conversations like? Or were you also hustling and reaching out to them?
It was 100% hustle, man. So Phil Ivey was the production designer that I was working on a John Wick movie that hasn't come out yet. But it's a spin-off of John Wick.
The ballerina.
And that's the one, yeah. And Phil said to me, he goes, hey man, I got a call about potentially working with Fede Alvarez. Fuck, I love that guy. What is it? Because it's an alien movie. I mean, you got to get me on there. And Phil, for anyone out there that doesn't know, he was the designer on Blomkamp's Alien 5. So I've already picked his brains to death about that experience. But anyway, Phil goes, yeah, man, of course, if I'm on it, you're on it. I go, oh, sick, man. If I get another Alien movie to my name, then I'll establish my presence out there in the world as an Alien guy, which for me is fucking great. I feel like a cover band that's been acknowledged as being good enough to play with the real band. And that's fine by me. And anyway, he didn't get the job, and I'd heard that Naaman got it. And Naaman did work with me on Mortal Kombat, but it was remote. So I wasn't as much of a presence. I wasn't on set. I wasn't fucking kicking the doors in, And it was only for a short period of time. And I don't think my work was fucking great on that job. I mean, my weapon work was top notch, but my environment work, I mean, just compared to the other guys, it was just shit. Anyway, I was like, hey, he's not going to get back to me, but I'll email him anyway. Email him and go, hey, Naaman, I heard you're on a job. I don't know if you know about me, but here's a book that I worked on. I'm very relevant for this franchise, And I didn't hear anything for 6 weeks. And 6 weeks goes by, and I held my hand on my phone as I slept. And by any minute, I really don't know. Now, I was fucked at the time because I was on 4 other jobs at the exact same time. So I knew if this really came up, I'd be in big trouble. So I kind of wanted it, but kind of didn't want it. And at any rate, he gets back to me and goes, hey, man, I think you'd be a real valuable part of the team. What does that mean? When do I start? That's 6 weeks later. So I go, when do you want me? What do you want? And I reply for 2 weeks. Then I hit him up 2 weeks later. Listen, man, you said I was in. What do you want to do? He goes, Simon, we're crewed up. I decided. And I was just like, thought about it for like 20 minutes. And I go, My reply, I go, that's a real shame, man, because I am very much a part of this franchise at this point. And I think I do a fucking fantastic job. But not only that, I'm an Australian, which means I work for Australian rates, which are not as bad as the US rates. Email straight back. He just goes, Fede wants to meet with you in 15 minutes. Are you ready to go? Yes, thank you very much. So then I met with Fede on the Zoom call, got the job, and my hands were shaking because I was like, how the fuck am I going to do 5 full-time fucking jobs at once? And one of them is an Alien movie, which we all know. I'll drop everything else to work on it. And we'll also be like trying to do the best work I've ever done because I got to try to outdo what I did last time. It was a fucking nerve-wracking experience, and I'm mostly proud of the shit that I did. So that's how I got in there. Again, hustle. If I didn't ask, I wouldn't have got it. But out there in the world, I understand everyone's just going to shoot. He's the Covenant guy. Of course he'd get that job. I think even other peers, like they thought that. They're like, of course he'd get the job. He's fucking big noting himself. Nope, I can just suck a mean dick.
What was that conversation with Fede? What kind of shit
he went straight.
comes up in that?
He went. Well, the thing is, I'm a fan of his work, so it was a little surreal. Like I was like screenshotting like platforms. I'm going, and I'm like screenshotting, like. And so I wasn't sort of paying attention, but what he got right into was the story breakdown. He goes, no, listen, don't, because it's going to be young people, but don't count me out yet. I go, okay, yeah, okay, keep going. What do you got? He goes, well, they find the cocoon of the alien. They find it in the mineral ore. The aliens cocooned itself in this shit. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, no worries. And then straight away I went into briefing me about that cocoon. So that's probably the first thing I want to get you to do. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no worries, man. And from there on, that was basically that was him briefing me. Now it was a dicey job because Fede wouldn't always get back to me with feedback. Like I was doing drawings, and I'm waiting to see if I'm in the right direction. And I could do 10 drawings, pretty weird, like pretty wacky, but I want to be wacky to count them out, or to we're going to go in this direction. You know what I mean? Like it's going to get weird. So that's the process, and he wasn't responding to any of them, in no response. And so what happened with me was, oh, fuck, man, they're going to sack me, and it's just going to be because they haven't given me any feedback. They're going to let me go. All right, I'll just jump onto the next creature. I know there's eggs. I know there's facehuggers. I know there's chest busters. Just start drawing them. The Offspring was going to be the hardest thing to do, so it was the first thing I drew. And he even said, the thing of my nightmares is this fucking Offspring. I don't know what it's going to be like. Like I'm so nervous about being shit. And I was like, okay, yep, all right. So after the cocoon, I went straight onto that guy. And I don't know how far I got. There's elements of it in Legacy's one, but I know that for my 500 different variations of the fucking thing, I know that it helped to guide that thing into existence. I just started jumping onto the next creatures, and Fede just fucking laughed. Oh, this guy he's just autonomous. He'll just do it, and that's what kept me a part of the team, because some of the other guys, they didn't make it. And by no fault of their own, they're super talented artists, but I just don't. It was just the nature of that experience was they weren't getting feedback, so they would wait or try to pester them for feedback, and I was just like, I just don't work like that. And I was just like, oh well, if they sack me, at least I would have done one version of every animal, because that's what I wanted to do. And in the end, of course, I managed to do a version of every single one of the creatures, and most of them got in.
And one of the questions that was suggested a lot by our community were some of the variations of whether your experience on Alien Covenant contributed towards or helped you while you were working on Romulus. I would assume so.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every job that you do, it shocks me how relevant what you learned was. But I don't think I think that's life lessons. I remember being in the meatpacking factory after high school and telling myself, oh my God, I'm fucking better than working in the meatpacking factory. And then the next job I had, whatever it was that I applied myself to get through that experience, I'm like, no. There's always something to learn. There's always something to take away from this experience. You will be able to. This is all going to lead to somewhere special. And by approaching it like that, the next job you're always going, I cannot believe that this worked. Like, of course, now working with films, it's shockingly visceral. Now, of course, with Covenant, that whole time I'm nervous as shit. I'm trying really hard to honor Giga's work and to appease Ridley Scott and impress everyone, and nervous as fuck. And the whole time, even then, like don't get me wrong, I like Rembrandt, but I've never studied his work, or Da Vinci's. Like, I'd never sat down, read the shit, focused on it. And man, you got to get good fast. Luckily for me, I can roll with that punch. It's kind of how I program. And on Covenant, man, I started fucking studying those artists and got very comfortable with using reference, because I was very bad at that. By the time Romulus rolled around, man, like I started. This is purely by coincidence. This is sitting in front of me. I was playing with it before. I'm planning on resculpting it, but I started like physically building shit on Romulus for the first time, because I was nervous about referencing complex shapes and just not getting it right. Also, I was so scared of doing a bad job that I got hamstrung, that I began to then sculpt and mold things and photograph them. And that came from Covenant, man. From where I was like, how the fuck am I going to draw like a Rembrandt style version of a Facehugger? And I could see Dominic Halston was doing amazing shit just because he was like just getting ready for that part of the job, and I didn't want anyone else to get that job. Like, that's fucking fine. Like, I gotta do this. And so, man, I just started using reference, man, and referencing like a motherfucker. Like, give me every picture of a spider, and you can see a lot of spider influences on a lot of my Facehugger. Spiders and all different, natural references. And so, yes, man, it fully influenced it, man. And also, I came in with a little bit of confidence that I'd played in this pool before. Not that I was necessarily good at it, but I survived it, and I knew I could do that. And so I was pretty excited to be in there and doing it again. So yes, man, it fully influenced my approach. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the spiders influence, because I thought, that there was a lot of like crustacean in what you were doing with the Facehugger tweaks.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if you look at the versions, I think there's like maybe 50 different versions of them, but some of them I tried to keep them as fleshy as fuck. Like the very, very first one I did, which is one of the first images I shared on Instagram, I think, was like a Facehugger that has about like, it's got about 6 legs on each side, and they're wispy and soft. And I was like, why don't we do something that would look like it would be really fucking horrible to have it wrapped around you, very suffocating. There's no possible way to breathe around it. So that was what that was. But I started off very weird and wispy and thin and, fleshy, and some of them were super fleshy, and then some of them got like really armored, very bony, very fucking. One of them that I did had like like a carapace, that bony carapace kind of effect. And yeah, I mean, you can't really, you don't know what's going to land, but by approaching it with that broad range kind of experience.
I think one of the, well, I say one of, when footage first started coming out for Romulus, we saw these kind of soft focused in the distance shots of the facehugger, and I think one of the early things that you really sort of could see the differences was the much darker sort of brown tan kind of color palette. And then of course, as we started to see more of the facehugger, more of the physical prop, and we saw like these things like the spines, the barbs on the fingers. That unfortunately didn't really factor in to the film at all. The barbs didn't, which was a shame. But tell us about designing the facehugger for this one, because I mean everything had subtle little tweaks to each of the aspects of the creatures in the film. Why the darker palette? Why the barb tone? Was that something you deliberately brought into it, or was that something that Fede had asked to be incorporated into the designs?
So this is how it goes, right? Like I said, I hit it with a broad range, from like very strange and fleshy to very hard and bony, and everywhere in between. And what happened was, again, I couldn't tell what Fede was responding to. It's not like he would get back to me and go, "No, make it more William Blake, or make it more whatever." Like, that's not how it was going down. I wasn't getting any feedback, so I just started trying weird shit, and that's where the black came from. So I did one that was all black, and I was just like, see how this goes, And he fucking loved it. He goes, "No, I love the black, but it's too much. What else can you do?" Which, of course, that then went on to the facehugger, to the chest burster. With the black, because I mean, if you look at my original drawing, it's got a black dome and a flesh-colored face.
With the filling carapace.
That's right. Well, that was Fede saying, "Man, let's have it change on like immediately." And you can see, I haven't shared them actually. There's a couple of drawings I haven't shared where I was trying that shit out, where it's very nymph-like when it comes out like a cicada. It's still in its very, very pupil state. It's not even crawling out of the dirt, so it's like fucking white, and then to flash black, to flash, to then shed its skin, to, and he was totally responsive to that shit. Also, I'm very passionate about all that stuff, so every time I would make a suggestion like that, especially if it was face to face, he would like bite into it. Like, "Oh, that's fucking cool, dude." So the barbs and the fingers, that was him. He goes, "Now I think it'd be really nasty if those barbs and the fingers." No worries. And I actually started them all the way down here, all the way up. He goes, "No, it's too much. Just put them in the fingers." And then originally it was like a cluster of spikes, and then it just looks to me like Weta didn't really want to have to deal with the intricacies of having to do that. And who knows how much of that you'd actually read, so it became that real basic sort of line pattern. The other thing was there was the barbs that he wanted. I'm always really fucking anal about how facehuggers look. Like, my friends have designed all of those facehuggers. I'm not going to shit talk them, but I really despise people looking at a facehugger and just thinking, "Oh, that's a vagina." Yeah, it's very vagina-like, but you've got to look at it like Mother Nature. It's like convergent evolution, things that look like other things because in that period of time they started at the same time and they arrived at the same time, but they're quite different. It's not a vagina. It's something that looks like a vagina. And if we can make it look fucking frightening, so I added the little, like the oyster lips around the edges, like the little villi, so that it would look like when it grabs on, it's more like a limpet when it sucks onto your face. It's fucking like a muscle that tenses and would probably suck the blood to the surface of your skin, and that's what I reference mostly. And I tried some weird shapes underneath initially. I'm very protective of the real estate of how those facehuggers look, and the end result is quite different to what I did for me personally. There's some things that are very different, but I can't stand the front of a facehugger when it just has the little clitoris kind of head. It's just like, No, the original Facehugger, Roger Dickens. That's his name, right, Aaron?
Yes.
I always forget Roger Dickens.
Yeah. Roger ultimately made the Facehugger.
That's right. So Roger Dickens one has like a reference to that, but it's not this blatant little clitoris. It's very insectoidal, but still fleshy and fucking alien, you know? So anyways, I tried that with my ones as well. I tried different things and tried to make them interesting. And I didn't want to waste any real estate from the fucking knuckle of the shoulder of every digit, every distal, in my mind, had to be very purposeful. And, you know, because some of those other ones in those other movies, they just look like, I'll just do a Facehugger. And someone just looks at it and just goes, oh, I don't know. Even the ones from Aliens, for me, are a little too segmented in a way. You know, like a little, just different from the first one. I just think the first one's perfect. I just love it. And I just wanted to reference it. The same color, the same, you see the tendons over the shoulder, which is exactly how the puppet was made. All of that tiny bit of information I tried to control in those drawings. You know? It's part of the reason why I do like very nice renders in my drawings, and I try to render them, over-render them. Unfortunately, for concept artists, it's a little too much, but I just want to make sure I've got enough control over what's being seen. You know, like and it's, I don't know, it's not an ego thing. It's just I know what the right thing to do is. You know? It's a little bit like Ron Cobb bitching about space shots, you know, like in Alien, and how there was sound. It pissed him off ad nauseum because it's his world, you know. And I guess animals is my thing, you know, creatures, and especially just aliens. So in any case, I try to control all of that shit. I did many different versions, many different kinds of vaginas. The ultimate one that I did had striations of muscles because I wanted it to look muscular, like you would be afraid to have it on your face, not just as like, oh, it's going to penetrate me. No, it's more about, no, it's going to fucking suffocate me, man. You know. And even the one that I drew with the proboscis coming out, I drew it erect, like a penis, like with jizz all over the ground as well, because I wanted it to be primordially frightening. A prehensile mouthpiece is way less violent than a erect, damaging, punishing single vision, you know. And so even with that proboscis, I had it coming out in erect with shit dripping from the tip of it because it just looks repugnant, you know. And I want it to be an assault on the viewer. Like it's got to work on a primordial level, right? Like the design's got to beat you to the punch. You can't sit around thinking about, oh, how did that kill me? You know, you want to have an immediate reaction to this thing is not just going to kill me; it's going to violate me, and I am terrified. That's what the Xenomorph did.
And it kind of loses that aspect as you go further on in the films. So, you know, having that mentality there. Yeah, exactly. And I think granted, I haven't watched the Blu-ray yet, but didn't they actually replicate the erect proboscis coming out in one of the shots in the actual film? Or am I misremembering with some of the artwork?
Well, no, I was watching the dailies when they were shooting it before I went to Hungary, and I saved them on my computer because I was so impressed. The coolest fucking thing what it did was when the thing gets pulled off the chick's face, and it looks like it's gone all the way down her throat, and it's fucking straight, like it's straight down. And what it in fact is, it's a reverse. They're actually pushing something down into her mouth, and it's folding out, always remaining just in the cradle of the lips here, never going down past her throat. And looks fucking sick. And the dick that they made for it, the puppet dick, which I based on a dog's dick, sick, man. Like fucking fantastic. I looked at that and I was like, oh my god, they have killed this. It looks fantastic. And you know the way I draw things, I like this, put all these subdermal veins and striations of the meat behind it, you know, the flesh, the muscles. They got it all in there, and the movement of that dick was awesome. It had always maintained this level of almost like a stiffness, you know. And I was like, oh wow, they got it, man. They really fucking got it. And I guess
looks solid.
Definitely see that. Yeah, and just you know, a prehensile. You know, the Offspring has a prehensile one, which again I'm against, but it's prehensile, so it does this thing. And yeah, on a fundamental human level, it's interesting to see things move like that. But even snakes don't move like that. every prehensile thing doesn't really move like that. Even worms don't move like that. They go to suck and push and pull. That
contract release.
That's right. And so I'm going back to bio, trying to make it violent, stiff, hard, penetrating, evil, perverted, and it's that prehensile thing. You just don't get it with that. So
the coloration. I want to ask there as well. I know you said you'd made it black initially. It's kind of fun. I'm going to assume this is absolutely no bearings whatsoever in any actual design or what they ultimately did. But when a lot of us saw again that first teaser trailer and we saw the coloration of the facehuggers, we were like, Queen facehuggers? So was there any reference to?
No. My first idea for the Xenomorph was to do a true amalgamation of the big chap, the warrior, and the dog alien. I just thought, why don't you just fucking do a love letter to all of them? There's information from each of those guys in this thing. And the fans will fucking love it. It's something new, but it's well within the pocket of what we've already seen. And those three versions of the alien, everyone likes it. Like everyone's into it. And of course, Fate A wasn't into it. And then I tried to do things very eager. I tried to do like rotting flesh, that people think like great fucking rotting flesh kind of thing, where it's like there's pock marks of scabs and shit like that. I tried to do that, and he wasn't into it. And all of the facehuggers, I try to do them this really fleshy tone. Again, right back to the first one, just because I love it so badly. But because he just wasn't reacting, and I tried some zany shit, that is how the black came about. And it just, for me, I wear black every single day of my life because, in my mind, it's the most impactful. It's a blight, it's like a blight. And so it started black and then wound back. So the black is very different to the super facehugger from Alien 3, that clean one, which is kind of browny blacky, which I've seen many, many, many times now because Alec Gillis is like a good friend, so I see that face all the fucking time when I go into the workshop. It's got this, I don't know, it's got this very sort of elegant kind of look to it with the bony shield around the abdomen kind of thing. But no, I'm not a big fan of that design. Even that one has got like the barbs on the fingers too. Like it's got the hook finger that goes the return, like that barb return. And I'm not a big fan of it. It just feels unnecessary and really, this is nothing against that actual design, but I mean, in terms of it's just a very producer call, right? You guys know what I'm saying? I feel like a producer made that call to try that shit out.
Wouldn't surprise. I can't remember the history of it offhand, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was a reshoots thing after LA. I can't really remember. I'll be honest.
No, I stayed away from it, and then also every time because the dog alien is my favorite incarnation of the alien. Nothing against the others. It's just my favorite. It's just what I like the most. And every time I kept on going that way, I did not give a shit. So I like take the pipes off the back. I would it's got this, it's got the reverse hind leg kind of thing. Okay, the black on the face. I love the black on the dog alien's face, right at the front that goes back to the clear. And fuck, I love that version of the alien. Like it's just always so fucking angry. The head shakes with like it boils with primordial fucking rage. Like when it does that fucking peel back and think, oh my god, I love that. I love that incarnation. Anyway, Romulus was not very Alien 3 compatible. So yeah.
So beyond the facehugger, you did a number of concepts for the adult alien, including like a number of close-up shots of the scarring that was going to be part of that particular Xenomorph's character. But beyond just like combining the aesthetics of the big chap, the warrior, and the dog alien, like what else did you explore with that adult design? Did you ultimately see any of that make it into Legacy's design, or do you feel like it was kind of more of those preliminary concepts?
Well, one of the main things I got in there was the crown, because Fede was right off the bat. He goes, I want to see the dome stays still, but the alien's head moves at the end of the dome, like there's flex in the dome. And so I put the ridges in the head. It looks like there's ridges in the dome, and you can see it. It's exactly how I had done in the drawing, which I based on the Pred Alien. Pred Alien has that information
just above the skull. Yeah,
that's right. Which I always enjoyed that. So, anyways, that's in there. But then other than that, it's obviously Legacy's work, and it's very.
Yep. Did the Queen kind of factor into that as well when you were exploring it? Because obviously her head comes out and it moves independent of the crown.
No, I tried not to. I love aliens as much as anyone else, but I'm one of those guys where the first one and the third one, they just kind of fucking sit just a little bit above it, you know. I'm not going to take anything away. I don't need to argue with anyone about it because I love that movie with the entirety of my heart. And it, obviously it was the first one that I saw and that got me into Alien and that I loved. But the nihilism and the complexity of those other two, I just, as I get older, I just resonate with a lot more. And so in terms of like the Queen design or the Warrior design or even the eggs in Aliens, there's parts of it that to me are utilitarian from a production standpoint. And that's very James Cameron. And that is how he makes a film. He understands what's going to be seen and what's not going to be seen, so he can be pretty utilitarian. A great example is No Dome. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to explain to you guys, but not having a dome was like a practical choice. It wasn't like this will look cooler for the alien, or this says more about the state of the aliens at this point in time. That's not how it is. He was just like, those fucking domes are going to scratch, crack, and break. That is not going to help us. We need to make this fucking movie lose the dome. It's that. You know what I mean? It's a pragmatic choice. It's not an aesthetic celebration. And so in terms of the Queen, in terms of the Warrior, in terms of the eggs, and even the Facehuggers, Chestburster is in. Chestburster with the little hands, that's pure aliens. But I try to stay away from it. It's just not the strongest. The dropship's great. The Sulako's great. The APC is fucking fantastic. The vehicles you got to maybe shade, but creatures is just kind of rudimentary, So I just sort of backed off a little bit. Yeah.
And some of what you posted with the adult alien, showing just the really rough exploratory concepts, those are things I always like to see. And I remember seeing a lot of that in AVPR, like designs where they were just throwing stuff at the wall and trying a whole bunch of different things before they landed on a design. And then you did some others that were like close-up kind of shoulder head pieces, just exploring the various details of the adult aliens. And I love how you tried different teeth variations on the aliens. Some had more vampire teeth and some had other like configurations, and it was just really cool to see those different explorations.
Yeah, thanks, man. What it was when it gets jabbed in the cocoon, it's interrupted its gestation period, And I try to pitch Fede on it. I go, well, what if like a lizard, like a salamander, if you fuck with its regeneration process, or if you fuck with its makeup, its regeneration can be retarded. Like it can actually, by actual definition of the word, it can be retarded and change or be malformed. And one thing I love about reptiles is a little bit like Doc Connors in Spider-Man, how he's only got one arm, and that's why he becomes a lizard. This is fucking with lizard DNA, because lizard DNA can grow things back, and you get lizards with two arms, and you get lizards with all that kind of shit. So in any case, I would love to see one where the alien had like an overreactive repair, and it had a big growth over its face with more teeth coming out. I thought that would be really cool, and just a nice little way to build upon what's there without taking something away. But it didn't kind of fly. And obviously, Fede was very nervous about that head wound, because I did so many different drawings of it, and none of them got in. Some of them were with the that muscle tissue is like flapped off, so it's like open, so you can see more teeth. But yeah, it was I don't know. Yeah, I tried a lot of shit. I don't know how much of it stuck. I definitely didn't do that final swatch thing. I haven't been just legacy sculpting.
And while every aspect of the alien in Romulus is quite recognizably the Xenomorph, each one also has design differences. You've mentioned in some other interviews about Fede's comments regarding the balance of doing something new, but also staying the same. As a designer, as a creative, how heavily does that balance weigh on your mind when you're working on such iconic designs, such as the alien?
I mean, it's terrifying. Just like abject fear, because we all saw the newborn from Resurrection, and it was a design misstep on some way. Some people really love it, but for the most part, there's something that doesn't quite work here.
You can never deny the technicality of it, though, like what ADI actually did with the animatronics, regardless of the design.
I was talking to someone very special to me the other day about. Well, I love talking about Alien, and just talking about if Resurrection existed in its own world, right, it'd be fucking so popular as the craziest fucking space movie on it. It'd be like, man, this bitch is pulling the fucking tongue out of this creature. There's a guy that gets shot in the back of the head and he pulls his brain out and he looks at it and there's a fucking queen and the aliens turn on the other alien and they use the acid to burn through the hole in the fucking floor and there's a clone in there and then in the end that creature gets sucked out of the fucking airlock. Like, man, if we weren't rabid alien fans, like that movie would be regarded like the thing. It would be like this creature movie that just does no shits given. Fucking swimming aliens, the alien that presses the fucking buzzer, all of that bullshit. Oh man, it's a cool movie in and of itself. It just pales in comparison to the intellectual loftiness of Alien and Alien 3. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't have the mythology, right? And so in any case, I look at the newborn, and even Fede talked about it, like with the Offspring as well. We all know about the newborn, and we all know how we felt about it, and how it just doesn't quite hit the mark for the most part. A lot of people love it, but it just doesn't quite hit the mark. And so I'm like, fuck, how am I going to do this? Like, how can I do something that's honors what's come before, but there's a true love letter to what exists, but then of trying to bring something of my own to it. So I don't know. In the end, I guess that's why no drawing of the Xenomorph was like, yes, that's it. Make that way. Kind of goes back to the chest poster as well, where I'm so proud of the one with the hands, and cradles its own legs, and I feel like that's a very loving extrapolation of what has come before that I do so love. And Fede didn't react to it, but I was like, oh man, I'd love to just contribute something that wild, but I know in the end it was too wild. It was too much of a deviation. Like Fede said, and I've said in other interviews, if we stick to exactly what's come before, we're fine. If we deviate too far, we're fine. So what are we going to do? It's just like you gotta find that middle ground.
That must be really hard, especially when it comes to, such a long-lived fandom, such as that. Well, I'd say fandom, long-lived franchise, such as ourselves, because as you're a big ass nerd yourself. You know how fucking impossible it is to please.
Or how hard are we? Like, how hard are we on the things that have come before? We watch like Requiem, or we watch anything like that. We are hard. We are hard judges on that shit. We're not like like a fan of a band where any album they release, like, oh, this is the next coming of Christ. Oh yeah. That's not how we act with Alien. We're more like, try and impress me. See if you can. Because I am well fucking versed in all of the literature. Go on. Wow me with your wares. And so that's the kind of shit that I'm stepping into. It was the same as on Covenant. Like I know what I'm dealing with because I am that fucking person. So yeah, man, yes, to sound like a whiny little bitch, Aaron, in fact, yes, it's very hard.
And speaking of the Newborn and the Offspring, you know, the Offspring has proven to be a very major controversial element of the film, you know, in terms of not only how similar it is to the Newborn, but also in just, frankly, its fucking inclusion. You know, personally speaking, I fucking love the Newborn. Not the Newborn. I fucking love the Offspring. It's the most it's the most terrifying the Alien films have been in a long time for me. You know, it's the first time since I'm a child that I went to sleep that night and I saw that fucking face in the corner in the shadows of my room. You know, it's genuine nightmare fuel. I feel like I'm overusing the phrase when I talk about it a lot, but it genuinely affected me that much. And from the artwork that you've been sharing, it looked like the most intensive design process of the production, nailing down this look. With the finished film not even going as far as you were going in the process. You know, in
That's right.
the designs you showed, it turned into an alien. It turned into an alien dragon at one point. But the finished film's just, I guess, more the adolescent stage, as you were kind of describing it in your artwork. Can you tell us about working on that and some of those earlier intents that didn't actually make it into the film?
Yeah, man. Well, for starters, obviously, like I was just so nervous about it because of the Newborn, because like what that means, right? When he told me he was going to cast that basketball guy, like, I looked at his proportions. Like, if I drew this guy in an art class, the teacher would be like, you can't submit scale like that. You can't submit proportions like that because that's wrong. It's not. It can't sustain itself. You know? That's how special and interesting his features are. You know? The way that his neck connects from his skull to his chin, to his traps, and all that stuff. What a fantastic looking art. I just love it. And so to take that and to use that, to play with that, and to try to do stuff. The big thing that Fede wanted was the youthfulness to it. Now I can't stand that. Again, it goes back to the Newborn, trying to make it like you can connect to it. You know, Fede wasn't doing that, but I was so nervous about it. I kept on going, monstrous, horrible, disgusting, hard, evil, bad. And he just kept me. Now make it more adolescent, more adolescent. Adolescent means bigger eyes, bigger nose, bigger ears. You know, those are cute features. And so I mean, you can see in the drawings they even did one like super young to try to get out of that. Like, we fucking show it young and then show it old. You know, like so you can have your cake and eat it too. But you didn't quite play. It doesn't matter because what is in the movie, I fucking love it. Like the way he shot it, the way that the creature presents itself, all that kind of shit. I really fucking like it. But in terms of doing the iterations to try to get it to somewhere, you know, on some level it wasn't super successful. Like, I mean, it's not like he saw a drawing and was making it like that. Because again, that's where Legacy, they just went off and just did something. You know? Like, something had to be made and they made it. But then, of course, after I came back from Hungary, he called me. Fede called me. He goes, "Man, I want to try some shit with the Newborn. I want it to turn it into like this big thing with wings." And I go, "All right, man." I go, "Wings is fucking tricky in space, dude. I'll do it. I'm going to try to do it in a way that I'm not ashamed of." You know, like, so frankly, I feel like I got that. You know, I went somewhere where he got wings, but I wasn't ashamed of what I did. You know, they're very translucent. It's very much an evolution of what that creature looks like. I thought I did a pretty good job, and I was pretty happy with it. And he signed up. He goes, "Yeah, that's it. That's fucking great. Thank you. That's good." You know, rough ones all the way through to that final one, that dragon-looking one with the long head and the big wings. He goes, "Yeah, it's done." I go, "Sick, man. All right. Then he calls me a couple of weeks later and he goes, "I changed my mind." I go, "Yeah?" He goes, "Yeah, man. I just feel like it needs to turn into the Xenomorph. Like, don't turn it into that big creature, but I need to see what it looks like if it turns into the Xenomorph." And I go, "Okay, I'll do it." Which you can see those roughs online. I put them online where it turns from that creature into like the skin shedding and it turns into the Xenomorph. And it's a very rough drawing, but you know, it gets the point across. And then I did a couple off the screenshots from the actual footage and the previews, and merged the two of them together and did what it would look like if the Xenomorph busted out of the flesh of that creature. And again, he fucking loved it. He goes, man, you nailed it. This is great. Okay, sweet. Then I was at the premiere. I'm watching it, and I'm waiting for it to turn into either the dragon or the xenomorph, and it just stayed the same. And I was just like, oh, okay. And it ended, but I was happy about it. And then when I had dinner with him, when I had dinner with Fede a couple weeks ago, I was like, so what happened, dude? I was waiting for it to turn into this big thing. We fucking laid over it, and what happened? And he says, you know what it was, man? He goes, we just ran out of time. Because if I had time, I probably would have liked it. But, you know, we ran out of time, and I didn't want it to look like shit VFX. So there's no point in like cramming it in there. And so we just went with what we had. And he goes, frankly, I'm happy with it. And I go, no, dude, you made the right choice. I'm happy with it. But I'm still, what happened to our baby? You know, like I laid it over that fucking thing. I was so nervous about it. Every tiny little detail from the back parts turning into those long parts with the hooks, but they're so heavy they sit down on the bottom. They sit down on the floor. I was just like, oh man, I don't feel guilty about that. You know? I don't feel like I'm just like, oh, there's just a big growth of the horns on the back. I'm like, no, try to give purpose and rationale to every little part of it that I need to. So, you know,
there was a earlier cut of the film that had some unfinished VFX that did go with that, with
I
with
saw
it
it.
turning into the xenomorph. So I thought it was a pretty interesting concept as well, because it kind of, to me, it plays off that original William Gibson Alien 3 that kind of had the werewolf aliens that just break out of the skin and stuff. So I always thought it was a unique concept. And as iffy as I was about the Offspring in general, I don't know, I kind of wish it would have turned into a xenomorph, just because it would have like pushed that even further for me.
It's funny that everyone thinks that, because some people really have that reaction. And I think he was telling me that it was someone important to him that said that. He goes, oh, someone watched it and said, you know, it makes sense. He was telling me that he was talking to his daughter about it. And he was like, what is the most fundamental reaction a human will have to this experience? And it's going to be, of course, the perfect organism was always there. It always leads to the perfect organism. I'm like, oh yeah, but I see that makes sense. Yeah. And actually, he said that Alex Garland saw it too, and said you don't need it. And I guess if you ask him, he'll say Alex Garland's fault.
I think you mentioned
but it's
that,
not a fault. But yeah,
I much prefer it without it turning into the alien. I'll be honest. I'm very much in the camp of. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would have liked to have seen, you know, a bit more some of the wilder stuff that you shared of the humanoid. Sort of part of it where you were trying in the designs you were trying to make this cute stage not so cute, and you got the things like the bone shield over the eyes. Well, not bone, the biomechanical sort of shield over the eyes, and the really silvery teeth. And I'm like, I would have preferred to have seen it lean more into that kind of stuff as an adult rather than going to the alien route.
Thank you. Yes, I was very nervous.
I loved the biomechanical head covering of it. I thought that was really interesting. And that's the kind of shit I like to see played with when it comes to black goo infested stuff. You know, it doesn't have to go alien as long as it goes alien-esque, you know. And I feel like that must give you guys some freedom, you know, the creative's freedom to play and not always go, it has to be alien.
Well, I can't speak on behalf of, you know, like Carlos Fuente or those guys who came before me, but you know, it just comes back to Giga to me. You know, like, I just want to make it fucked up. You know, like he just had that fantastic, you know, this surreal, nightmarish quality to everything, and it, you know, for the most part, I guess it's like he wasn't evil. He wasn't fighting to make it look evil. And therein lies this subdued, terrifying presentation of a lot of the stuff that he had done. And so for me, I'm very proactive in trying to make things look evil, and I'm trying to get a visceral reaction out of the audience, because I'm that kind of person. I love shaking the fuck out of people visually or experientially. And you know, I'll always go back to it. So those earlier drawings, again, I'm just referring to Necronomicon. I'm just looking at these older drawings and I'm just seeing what else is there. And of course, all roads lead to the alien, because the big chap is one of his greatest triumphs, But to play around in the primordial parts of what he was doing, that's what I was trying to do. And whether or not it was successful or not, who knows? But it's that psychosexual element, like if I succeed in incorporating some of that, and it's not just people being afraid of the alien, but people not wanting to be violated by it. Every primordial fear that we have as a species it's captured in that, from being penetrated, from having a parasite live inside us, from being suffocated, from being exploded from the inside out. Like acid blood, like burning, chemical burns is a terrifying prospect. It's just fucking perfect. That is why I love it so much.
Do you think that's, from your perspective, is that the thing that makes the Alien as a creature, as a design, as a franchise so impactful still after these 40 plus fucking years, that we can go back to a film and play with those elements and it still be a huge fucking success and still resonate with an entire new generation of film goers?
Yeah, man, I would say the design has a lot to do with that. I would say not so much as a franchise in terms of keeping the franchise alive, because I feel like successful stories do that, and that counts for even all the Dark Horse stuff. Successful stories make it a franchise. However, the material that you're working with, those designs from the Dreadnought, the derelict craft, the dead jockey, the biomechanical design of the pilot's actual chair, all of that shit, that world building is seductive as fuck. Seductive. And that primordial fear thing, now for me, I was fucking terrified of the alien when I saw it as a kid. Like I had so many nightmares. Oh my god, it was so fucking. It was the facelessness of it. It felt like a shark, but with way more hostility. But it was mindless hostility. You know what I mean? It's not like an angry man yelling at you, piece of shit, or whatever. It's not like that. It's a faceless. It's a faceless hostility. It's this incredible locomotive force, and the part of that is just how it's been designed, the drawing of it, the way that it's been presented. It's just fantastic. Is that a part of why it lives for so long? No, I think if Aliens was a shit movie, you might get a third Alien movie that tried to course correct for that, and it probably would have died in the ass after that if the money didn't make it. Because Aliens was a very successful sequel that built upon the successful parts of Alien. That's how you got a franchise. That's how that actually happened. It's like Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. You only have the rest of those movies because T2 was so successful. As a story, not successful. I mean, that helps, but I mean, it was a successful story. It actually did a good job of building upon what came before. And superseding expectations, subverting expectations in just the right ways without us feeling violated. And that's why it's a living, breathing franchise. That's why Alien is a living, breathing franchise. However, the design, in my mind, again, it is the apex. It's right there at the summit of anti-human design. Fucking fantastic.
You spoke to us previously about working on Alien Covenant, where you were able to pop into the creature unit and see what they were working on, how they would come look at your artwork and create some bust based on it. Your experience on Romulus was somewhat different. You weren't really working on location. How collaborative was your work on Romulus? Like, did you talk to the folks at Legacy or Studio Gillis much?
As a remote job, because it was predominantly remote, it was surprisingly collaborative, but mostly with the other artists, so not so much with Legacy or even Alec Gillis. I talk to Alec all the time, but that's just because I talk to him all the time. I do back and forward on the chestburster and the newborn, when the newborn is born, But anyway, I was more just giving him drawings, and Fader was telling them make it like the drawing, which is very cool. But in terms of collaborating mostly with the other artists, like getting on, like looking at their work every fucking day and being challenged and frightened because they're so good, like from Matt Savage and Colin Price, Star, and Alex Nice, and I don't know. Sorry, his name will come to me. Anyway, those were the main guys. Chris Rosewarne,
The other Aussie, are you thinking?
No, that's Nick Staff.
Right.
No. I think I mentioned it. Hopefully I did. No, it's oh jeez, I don't know. I'm so sorry. Oh, man,
I'm trying to think who you've missed.
It's the other guy from Los Angeles. Yeah. He was with Fede and Alex and Naaman in the office when we first met. I'm sorry, dude. You know I know who you are, and I know you're fucking just spacing out. Keep that.
So you mentioned the chestburster there as well, and you know Romulus is, like all the aspects of the alien life cycle, received a different look for the film. When I can't remember whether it was when we spoke to Fede or if it's something he's talked about elsewhere, but he'd made some comment about wanting it to be a less developed incarnation of the chestburster because of how quickly it comes out of Navarro, you know, and that being why it like struggled and stuff. Did that factor into the approach you took when you were designing it? Was that a brief he gave you? Is that, you know, part of why the skull darkens as it's coming out?
No, I did not get that. No. I took that ball and ran with it, and I was the one that said, man, I want to see it come out in a sack first, and then it breaks the sack. And I don't remember if that's how it is in the movie, but definitely in the test.
It kind of comes out of the sheath.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's what I called it in the artwork for the sheath. So there was that, but then there was also, because I was pushing for this rapid indication of it getting older, there's a drawing again, I don't think I've shared it, but it comes out white and bony, then scabby bony, gigery bony, that sort of color, to then shedding, to then being black underneath, you know, the black color, right? And that's where he was just like, oh man, let's fucking do it. Let's show it turning black in real time, which I was like, what you want to do, dude? And then when I saw the test footage from Alex Workshop, it's way better than what you see in the movie, but that's only because the movie doesn't give you the full spectral range of color because you're in the pocket. It's just the white from the pocket, so you can't see the bone color or whitey bone turn to the black. But in the test footage, it's fucking unreal, man. I just had to tell Alex, man, dude, you just fucking smashed that, man. It's one of the coolest effects I've seen in a long time. And it just, the way that it flushes, it reminds me of a blue ring octopus. When you provoke a blue ring octopus, it flashes the color, and the skin cells have to organize in ring form and then disappear. You know, get the fuck out, man! How gorgeous! That's how that flushing black looks. Very, very
fucking. I loved you bringing the arms back into it. You know, that was some of the first. I got to go to like a footage presentation in London in like June or July time. I can't remember when it was. And that was one of the things they showed off there. And that was the thing I immediately picked up on. I was like, oh fuck, the arms are finally fucking back.
Aliens.
In the cool aliens way. Yeah, I mean, I know I know Covenant had it in, but it wasn't quite the same. You know, that was more impish. But no, I very much appreciated the arms coming back in.
Yeah, cool, man. No, that's good. Yeah, like I tried no arms. I tried the alien arms. I tried alternate arms, you know. And in the end, but it was like, no, I think you go with the ones from aliens. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, let's go. It's a nice little touch. So yeah, agreed.
And you also developed some concepts for the She-Wolf Romulus plaque we see on the ominous doors of the lab. Some had more of an anthropomorphic look even. So how did you go about these explorations, and what led to the ultimate decision on the aesthetic? It certainly looked quite like the statue we see in Ridley's Gladiator 2, if you've seen that yet.
Yeah, in the end, I think they just licensed the real one, I think, because, you know, they just liked it in the end. That real sculpture, which I can't remember who did it, but it's in Rome. But anyway, well, that's me being me. That anthropomorphic shit. I was just like, what am I gonna do? I want to make this interesting. The kids sucking on the wolf's titties. It's pretty gross. It's pretty cool. So I start really basic, where it's just like it's a wolf. It's carved out from stone, and the kids are sucking on the titties. And then I was like, nah, I gotta make this more cool, so that she's like a busty wolf chick and nursing them quite literally. I was just trying to do stuff, and I remember it had gone quite. I think that they'd given me 2 weeks off, so I went back to Furiosa for 2 weeks, and then I was still looking at the artist feed, and I could see that Alex did one where he took from the internet. Obviously, he just aped one of my Covenant drawings with the egg and put it in situ, and which is not a slight against Alex. Just that was his process. He was just trying shit out. And when I saw it, I emailed him and I go, "Listen, dude, that's my work from out there in the world. Why don't you let me have a shot of this?" And he goes, "Fuck it, go on. Spend the next 2 weeks doing it." Okay, sweet. That's where I came up with all that stuff and see all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of one of the less kind of violent things that I did for that movie, and try to make it disgusting and interesting and weird. But in the end, of course, that real sculptures really spoke to us. I think they just licensed the real sculpture. So, yeah.
And mentioning Ridley there with Romulus, mentioning Ridley there with Gladiator, another one of the questions we got a lot of variations on was in the sort of differences in your experiences working for Ridley and for Fede. What was that difference in process like? And did you even get a chance to sort of speak to Scott on Romulus since he was producing it as well? Or?
Oh, no, I didn't see him. I'm sure he went down there, and at the premiere, I was busy trying to sneak something in. So I missed it, really. He was standing behind me, but I didn't realize he was there. I was trying to bring him behind me. And so I missed him there, but I would have talked to him, of course. But differences between him and Fede, Fede is the most humble, infinitely passionate, seriously fun souls. Just an absolute delight. I hope he enjoys working with me as much as I did with him. Get to work with him on everything. From the sounds of it, it feels like that, but you just can't tell. But oh man, he's just so great. Ridley's way more egotistical. I don't mean that in a bad sense. He's aware of his impact, and he speaks with that kind of conviction. He's very aware of it, and also, he's in his own words, as he told me. He did 8 years in art school. He's very proud of that. He's very well versed in the world of art, traditional art, fine art, and so he speaks with confidence about it. And on that level, if you get Ridley by himself and riddles itself, like the wine, whatever, he wants to talk about art, and you can just exist in that world. It's not like we're going to be friends. We're going to go hang out at the bar. If we're talking about art, it's like he's like an intellectual sparring partner. He just wants to lash out and tell you about art and talk about that shit. And that's fantastic. That's great. And it's an incredible experience. But Fade's not like that. He's way more just one of us. And when we had dinner in Hungary, man, I'm a fan, and I'm a fan like I'm a fan, which means I take it very seriously. So I could ask him about anything from his earliest shit all the way through. Kanye West was the one that made his video famous, Panic. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew that. But I could enter into that space and talk to Fede about shit. Before you knew it, all we're doing is talking about movies. Fucking blah, 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 blah. Talking to him, hanging out with him. He's closer in age, and he's just infinitely humble, man. I've heard some great stories about him and how he carries himself on other people's film sets and in other instances where he's invited to be in other people's movies. And he's just a man of integrity and character. I was in the director's tent with his mum for about 4 hours before she went home. And she doesn't speak the greatest of English, but I managed to just talk to her about his upbringing and his dad and his other brother. Yeah, it was just awesome, man. Yeah, he's a great dude. So very different experiences. Almost like Ridley's like a dream come true. Fade's a lot more like definitely feels like connecting with a lifelong peer.
Yeah, I feel like that was the experience we had as well when we were talking to him. You know, the one of us comment, whereas Ridley Scott is one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. Speaking to him and all. I get that. I completely get that, Dane.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. I'm pretty confident around most anyone, And I did get starstruck. I was on Gods of Egypt, that terrible movie when I first saw Ridley. He walked past, and I was just like, oh, one of those weird experiences where I feel vulnerable. I'm so excited to meet this guy that I could act like a fucking idiot. And luckily, when I met him properly, I didn't do that. But yeah, that's very different. So Fate is very disarming because when I first met him, he just gave me a huge hug, and I didn't know what to expect because like I didn't know how much longer I had on the job. But when I saw him, he made eye contact, and he just come here, man, and he just said thanks so much. In Fate, the cocoon was on the wall. He goes, get up there, let's take some photos, man. That's you on that wall. That's what he said to me, and he said, directors don't normally act like that. They normally like, oh yeah, man, I'm so glad you did that for me. Or that's mine up there on the wall. That's how they act, and that's how they act, and that's how they treat you. And even though you have conceived it or whatever you came up with, same with the chest burster, man. When it came out of the second, that's all you, brother. And directors do not treat people like that. They just don't. And I can't say enough nice things about that. I love it.
And speaking about that cocoon on the wall, that was, we've said a lot about, or people have critiqued, I suppose, Romulus for the repeated elements, the callbacks or whatever. But that cocoon, that is brand new. That is something introduced entirely for this film, and it would seem sort of from what you shared on Instagram that it was probably alongside the Offspring the hardest design challenge you faced while working on Romulus. Walk us through that design process. Why was this the thing that stumped you, and how did you arrive at that fucking final disgusting take on it?
Well, how did it stop? It was number one. I think it was early on. They wanted to try me out, and I am nervous about him giving the job to someone else. And I think we all were, because everything was kind of up to grabs. I'm like, nah, if it's violent or if it's disgusting, I gotta have it. And so I would overzealously produce work, and some of it was really shit, and some of it was really rough. And so eventually, I just got so crushed by how shit what I was doing was. I ended up going into the garage and sculpting. I was very quickly got something like that. The same material, the monster clay that's on this. It's actually on this. I actually took it off that and put it on this. Something. So yeah, it was, and that's how I sculpted, and then sculpted that big vaginal opening in front of it. And it's a birth canal, man. I mean, it's one thing to be a dumb fucking, I just want to do vaginas and everything. This is a birth canal. You want to see it stretch out, and you see it do that. And so yeah, that's kind of how that went down. But also then they just started to get a sense. Fede started to get a sense of, oh, this guy, he loves playing with dimensions of things. Like, and I love, it's, at this point it's a bit of a joke, but it's, all of that translucent stuff. Trying to register depth with something so kind of, it's a basic oval kind of shape, an egg kind of shape, but trying to add another dimension of interest to it. It's just what I enjoy doing.
The bone ribs were an interesting choice as well.
Yeah, that I think. Now, from memory, I hope I'm not conflating memories here, but the Xenomorph Cocoon started off as like the ore shrapnel from the Nostromo, and it was like it glommed onto the Xenomorph, and that's how that came to be. Until finally Fede agreed with that, and then weeks later came back and says, "No, I want to change it now. I want it to be like the creature made a cocoon for itself, and that cocoon material should mimic what's in Aliens, because you've seen the hive and what they do with the information they secrete." And I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. And so that also translated into whatever the final version of the war vagina was, the cocoon. Basically keep it aliens, because we know what it looks like when they make an organic structure. Like, we know that. And the way I was imagining that the cocoon existed was, it's not like he hunkered down and then it grew on top of him. I always have this thing where it's like he's pulling secreted resin and building it as it's going in, whatever its form. It creates that cocoon, and then that cocoon grows with it when it cracks out of it. I had this footage of like frogs, right? When frogs molt, or when frogs need to hibernate, the mucus on the skin gets like really tough, but you can separate it. So they rub their skin and pull it down until finally they can turn themselves into like a little mochi snack. You know what I mean? And I thought, yeah, man, you'd be sick if that's how the alien does it as well. So anyway, I tried to pitch that to him. I don't know, you don't fucking see it. Don't worry about it. Okay.
And speaking of that other cocoon, or the chrysalis as it's sometimes called, in the beginning of the film, one of our Patreon supporters, Thomas Kane, asked about the one that Big Chap was found in. He asked, "It's my understanding that you melted a NECA alien figure and wrapped wire around it to get inspiration for the hardened cocoon Big Chap that was found in the beginning of the movie." My question is, how did you get the idea to do that when designing Big Chap's cocoon? And do you always have such a creative approach when designing things for other films?
Only when I'm fucking up badly, it forces you to be a bit more creative. It was taking me a long time for such a basic shape to get it right. So I was disappointed in myself. That's where I didn't melt it down, but I boiled it so that it was like jelly, so that I could get the proportions right. I could like jam it all in like together, and then I could trust fully like, oh, the whole creature fits into the space, and there's no negative space, in here or in here. And so that's how I did that. But my background was in prop making, so like when I first got into the film industry, I was in special effects and making props. And I don't know if I was ever necessarily a good prop maker, but I guess that what's that way of thinking of things, where you're like lateral thinking, where there's all these other ways you can solve the problem.
Yeah.
Right? And if I'm hard up against a design and I'm disappointed in myself, and, that disappointment can poison your productivity. You lose all of your cool. You lose all of your cool. And when that happens to me, I freak out. Like I think I was doing one drawing for 4 hours. Oh, this is fucking stupid. What am I doing? Sometimes it helps to just do line drawings after that, or to bust out of that nonsense. But in that case, I was disappointed in myself. Fuck it, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna put all the parts on it and just see what I can do. That's how that came about. Self-loathing. I mean, sometimes it really helps you out.
Can be a motivator sometimes.
Yeah.
And one of the things we've heard from the other artists is this very open way that Fede approached the design of the film in the early days of the production, encouraging you all to take stabs at other things that weren't necessarily assigned to you at the time. Were there any other elements that you took a stab at or designed for the final film that we might not have expected to have come from you?
The torch that finds the chest stuff, the X-ray torch thing. I had a crack at that. But again, I just wanted to draw an X-ray of the chest. So the design of the thing, I don't even really give a fuck about it. But I just wanted to show an X-ray of the creature in someone's chest. So like I did that, and there was the corridors, because I didn't know what the corridors looked like, but I put an effort into making what the corridors might look like, so that I could kill two birds with one stone. I could have corridor designs that I like, as well as figure out how the cocoon fits into the corridor. So I tried that out. What else? Like hard surface stuff I'm okay at, but when you're in the presence of like Matt Savage, you just shut the fuck up, because he's incredible. He's just amazing. So there was like at one time I nearly did the prod that Chris Rosewarne actually did. So started playing with that, and man, I was terrified. I was going to ask him to do the Romulus and Remus station, because Fede wanted to try that werewolf silhouette or the wolf silhouette.
Yeah, we heard Cole talk about that, and I just cannot visualize that at all in any way, and I feel bad for you guys for that one.
It's easy to laugh at it, but it's weird, man. So I admire starting somewhere whacked and then trying to get somewhere sensible and insightful. But I'm just not good at that stuff. Like look, I don't know. The cars of Mad Max are technically a hard surface, but I don't know, man. When I sit down to do that stuff, I just like choke. I'm just not. So I don't have a great instinct for it. So yeah, man, I think that's about it. Like obviously I did the cruise show, and that was like me sort of pseudo trying to like, kind of do a poster and just see what happens. And what else? Well, and then doing VFX, painting of the VFX stuff, which was very me though. In the end, it was the Xenomorph and the hive, that press that comes out and squashes the rat. I haven't shared those, which I will share. I mean, again, it's still pretty freaky though. It's a lot like The Thing, so it is still kind of in my room. But yeah, man, yeah, that's all I can really think of for now. Yeah.
So took a whack at a lot of it then.
Still. Yeah. I mean,
think any?
I'm doing fucking, like I remember doing like a grinding wheel on Shang-Chi. Why would you get me to do that? But I mean, obviously, I try to put my own spin on it. But don't get me wrong, I love doing it. But at the end of the day, I just want to see someone get decapitated.
Do you think any of those in the finished film were your takes though? Do you think any of your approaches made it through to the final product?
Probably the actual image of the chest burster inside the chest is probably taking cues from what I did, or at least inspired on what not to do. But you can see evidence of my drawing in that. But no, in terms of like unconventionally me, not really. Like you see the newborn egg, the newborn running around in the rafters, a little version of that. You kind of see that for a little bit. The Offspring. Yeah, but that's also the Offspring changing into the Xenomorph. I mean, there was some shit that I tried on that. I don't quite know if it. Oh yeah, it is in there. His tail, when his tail starts to form, when he's sucking on that chick's titty, and I did the cleanup, or at least a reference to the cleanup, because those prosthetics didn't all fit perfectly in his body, like the seam line. So I did that, and his tail when he's walking through the thing, that's like shot, like exactly as I drew it. That was pretty fucking cool. The way that he wields his tail. Yeah, man, I got to do a lot of stuff like that. How fucking great! That's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
A hive.
And you attended the Alien Romulus premiere in Los Angeles in August. Tell us about that experience. What are your thoughts on the finished film, and how'd you like the premiere?
In terms of the premiere, obviously, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was electric, man, because a lot of like great people were around me that I was excited to meet and to, like Alex I'd never met face to face. We just like worked together, so to see him there was great because he's a Los Angeles kind of guy. Fade's got a mate. I hope I can remember his name. Is it Southern Gino? I'm so sorry if I can't remember. But anyway, he has a friend like from high school that is a good storyboard artist that he still uses as a storyboard artist. And Santiago, but his last name is like Southern Gino. Anyway, you get to hang out with him, and he's super humble, and that was fantastic. The stars, like, yeah, it was kind of funny because Dora the Explorer is that little Isabella, is that her name?
Isabella Merced.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, she was Dora the Explorer.
The live action one, yeah.
Yeah, the briefest amount of time. And I don't know, it was pretty surreal to see her in real life, on set in Hungary as well. I spilled a couple of water while she was in costume, but luckily I was standing next to Vader, so it's like I had immunity to be a fucking boss. That was nice. Seeing those people, catching up with Neiman, fantastic. It was good, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, I cannot digest a movie at a premiere. Like, I can't do that. Like, I've never been able to do that because you're just looking at your work or your friend's work, or you're like the loudest, most positive parts are like sticking out to me. Good soundtrack, like good creative choices. But it's on the second viewing where you get to really fucking watch the actual movie. So that was good. Yeah, I love the premiere. Yeah, for a lot of reasons, a lot of special connections that I made. It was fantastic, and I turned 40 like 4 days before that. So that's why I went to the premiere. I was just like, what better thing in my life could I do than to be in an Alien premiere? It's just so good.
Have you had chance to watch the film a good few times since the premiere then? Have you been able to digest it? And
Yeah, I saw it. I've seen it 3 times now. The callback's great on me every time. It's just as a mature viewer. I mean, I don't mean mature because I'm mature. I mean, I've matured in the Alien taste, my taste for Alien, and I've been in it for such a long time. It's just really, I don't know, man. It just grates on me so much. But it's cool. I can hack that it exists for whatever reason, for impressing the average punter that wants to, watch the movie or get them hooked, or they'll see a chest for the first time, for example. We don't know what that's like because to us it's just like, how fucking weird is that? Of course, everyone's saying it, but it's just not true. There's people whose first introduction to the Alien franchise is Prometheus, and they think it's the strongest film out of the entire bunch. And Covenant too, which they'll hit me up about. Like, oh, man, that was the best movie. Romulus was so shit compared to that. Which is like, okay, each to their own. But no, the premiere was amazing. I have been able to digest the movie. So much to love about it. The coolest thing about it in my mind is the attention that it's brought back to the world. I really love so much. Feels like I'm watching like those Dark Horse comics that I love so much being brought to life. And it's just great, man. And that is it. What's the black actor's name? Is it Andy Williams?
Andy Johnson.
Andy Johnson. Andy Williams is a special effects guy that did it for me. Yeah, he was fantastic. Oh man, there's so much to enjoy about it. My favorite shot, my favorite thing in the whole movie is right after the chest bursters come out and fucked up that poor chick, and she kicks her leg out and it hits the throttle, and so the Corbeline like tilts to the side and just careens serenely through space. And there's a shot that cuts through the corridors where you just see the headlights go through the louver windows as it goes down past the things. And it's super quiet. It's just another it's just such a very Ridley Scott shot, and it's just fantastic. And just seeing it smash back into the other side. Very fucking cool. Also the spindle of the Romulus and Remus getting smashed up by the shards on the bottom. In terms of VFX too, that's fantastic. Man. That was really well done. And the miniatures, the shit, fantastic. so much to love about it. So much to love about it. So my overall appraisal is yes, very, very good.
Cool. And about 5 years ago, you wrote and directed a short horror film called Rancor that Odd Studios also worked on. It's a short.
Yeah.
I really love. It's dripping in atmosphere and subtext. And,
Thanks, man.
and Alien has experimented with official short films for the 40th anniversary of the first film. Would you ever be interested in writing or directing something for Alien?
Man. Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I think the end of my life definitely has got an alien feature in there. I feel like that the circle would close. I promise to make it very fucking visceral and very good. I promise. My raison d'être is to make films, and everything I've done has been leading up to them. The connections I've made, the friends I've made, the lessons I've learned have all pushed me in that direction, and I've always wanted to do it. So, I'm working on some stuff now. It's very unprofessional. I've got a project in development because those projects never get fucking made if you do that. But no, I mean, there's some stuff in my world that I'm very, very proud of and very excited to be attached to. So I don't know, man. I got a cool Predator script that I would fucking love to make.
That you've written?
Yeah, look, it's an outline, so it's not a proper script. And that's why I haven't shown it to you yet. I have a thing where I don't want to show any producers anything until I have a script that I don't hate attached to it, because anyone can say, I've got an idea for a movie, but until you've written that, you are just another fucking tourist pretending that you live there. And so I'm pretty strict on it. But it's a sick story. It's a sick that one, and I would love to make it. And I don't think it'd be super expensive. So, well, hopefully, talking to Dan Trachtenberg, I know might open some doors. So Dan Trachtenberg might open some doors into making a Predator film.
So, talk about Dan Trachtenberg, talking about Predators. There is a belief online. There is a belief online that you might be working on Badlands. Can you tell us anything about that experience?
Legally,
or if you are,
if I was working on it, then I guess legally I probably couldn't say anything for a couple of weeks. But I'm very lucky to have contributed to almost all of the franchises that are fighting the door, and I've been very lucky to dabble either through some of the creature workshops like Alakilus, or just off my own reputation. I've been able to now touch a lot of, or have a fingerprint on some really fucking cool franchises. It's about time I get out. Like I just gotta make my own shit. The only other thing I would be excited to work on at this point would be a Terminator movie that has a good script. For now, man, I just keep on working on movies that they're exciting. I'll always, thankfully, because of my reputation, I'll always be handled with violent stuff, or the decapitations. I get those shots, I get those moments. That's fantastic to me. It's very hard to say no to them. But the truth is, I just got to make my own stuff, because it's fantastic to dabble and touch all of these things. But now I'm growing up. But yes,
that's fair.
I have been talking to Dan about some things.
Okay, so to take from that what you will, audience.
Yeah, that's right.
And before we sign off, we also have a couple questions from our community. Solus97 asks, does anyone working on these films look at the expanded universe or fans that are on sites similar to ours and say, this is what it feels like the majority of people want? Or is there some collective sense of just trying to get it right now and not really taking those things into account?
Well, what you're describing there in that question is, if someone had an overarching vision of how this franchise needs to be handled, and they don't have that. Now, we, the artists, look at the expanded universe all the time because we already like it. Like Fede deliberately chose people who were fanatical about this world and believed that he'd get the best out of it. out of those people for a project like this because of our attitude. Now, that worked because we do care about it, and that's how that is. But there's no one eye that everything has to pass through. Like Ridley kind of saw himself as that between Prometheus and Covenant, but even his predilections are pretty fast and loose. Just as an individual, as a filmmaker, he can just make stuff up on the fly. So it doesn't. And he's a filmmaker before he's an overlord of any franchise. So he doesn't. He's not sitting there gatekeeping the shit ideas and the good ideas. I would love to, man. When the average punter describes a film being made, they'll use this term. They'll say, they made it like this, or they shouldn't have made a choice like that, or they should have thought about referring to this. And when they talk about they're referring to that what they're unwittingly describing is normally the producers, the powers that be at the top. And the presumption is that they are across what they're doing and care about what they're doing. But it's not always the case. You get some people that just want to do weird shit. Like the people that are in the film industry have strange motivations for being there. They're egotistical motivations, really, and which go nowhere. It's just nothing. In terms of someone looking at the expanded universe, are they looking at the expanded universe? I would love to have it. I would love to be that being a full-time job. I could do it, and pay enough attention to the material that I could handle it quite well. But I don't, it's just not how studios work, And the only reason why you get great people like Matt Savage or me or Colin Price sitting down, I'm not saying I'm a great person, but what I mean is great for the job. The only reason you get them doing that stuff is because we're fanatical in the first place. That's how we ended up where we are. So they're just lucky. They're just lucky that when they refer to some expanded, like Alien Isolation, the video game, when we brought that up, and lobbying to include shit, the only reason that no one was sitting in that meeting going, sorry, what's an isolation? What do you mean? That's not a thing, because we was like, oh fuck yeah, how good was that game? Yeah, finished it twice. Oh, I got 100%. Oh, blah blah blah. That's the kind of people you want working on, and that's what we like to think. There's an overlord at the top that's overseeing them, and a great example of that failing is Star Wars. There's not an overlord. There's not someone who cares about that franchise in the way that it needs to be cared for, and how precious it is. And so you just end up, in that case, it's like a band that refuses to play its greatest hits and then gets the shits when the audience goes, I'm not going to go see a fucking show where they don't pay to play the greatest hits. And Alien was close, man. Could have been there. But thankfully, that's what I love about Romulus. Thankfully, Bailey is a genuine fan, and he made a very successful movie. So hopefully that eye is coming back in. Yeah. So we'll see.
And Sizzy Bubbles asks, I noticed a lot of real-life animal inspiration in your concepts. Has zoology and biology always influenced you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I'm fanatical about. I just like even today, I was just out catching animals all day long. I just love that shit. I've loved it since I was a kid, and I love it now. And every time life gets too serious and I'm concentrating on things that are not helpful, like I think I need to go out and look for animals and observe them and think about them. It feels quite spiritual to me. It's almost like I am indebted to the universe for their existence. Like they're so perfectly designed. It's just exciting to me. So yeah, man, thank you to that person for appreciating that information is in a lot of my drawings. But also, in answer to the question, yeah, absolutely, Mother Nature is the single greatest designer. And, every time you think you could outfox that, then you've shortchanged yourself.
And then Alien, of course, has its history in nature with the wasps, of course,
Exactly.
inspiring the life cycle and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I mean, even like the hive as a structure, you have like wasps and ants and
fucking
stuff.
A, man. She's like a big motherfucker. Yeah.
So that's actually everything from us. But
Okay.
before we sign off, is there anything you'd like to share, any anecdote or thought about your time on Romulus that we haven't given you the opportunity to with any of our questions?
Hungary is a fucking incredible country. Feels like it feels like a Paris that hasn't been discovered yet, because it's still an old, ancient European country with ancient roots and impressive stories and history and culture. And being there was just the fucking best.
That was when you got to do the set visit with the other artists.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think for 7 days I stayed in the director's tent. But then, of course, went out every single night as late as I possibly could and just enjoyed that town. It was great. And Balaj from Stan Winston is a huge Alien fan. But he runs the Stan Winston School of Recruiting and social media stuff. And he sort of took me out, and he's a local one. Years ago, I sent him a print of Bathsheba, the A3 versions of it, because he's such a big supporter of mine. I said, "Oh man, thanks so much. You have this." And he never forgot it. So he showed me an incredible time, and that was very, very vivid. So, look, man, in terms of anecdotes related to Romulus, enjoying a European country for reasons other than I'm just here on holiday, fucking incredible, very, very good. But no, I think that's about it. Met some incredible people.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Dane, for taking the time to come and nerd out with us and talk about your experiences and design thoughts and stuff like that. It's very much appreciated.
You got it, man. Always a pleasure to talk about Alien any day of the week, because you can't shut me up about it. But then to see you guys, and obviously I still watch the show every now and then. And so it's good to, I don't know, man, it's good to be in the company of passionate individuals. So thanks for having me.
And thank you for the kind words as well.
Yeah.
Is there any socials you want to direct people to come and nerd out with you or annoy you?
I'm pretty active on Instagram, and next year I'm going to Monsterpalooza. I'm going to sell some prints.
Oh.
So I'm going to.
I suspect
it's going to be the only time I'll really set up a real shop to sell prints, and they're of course going to be alien related, and some of my own shit. But it's I'm going to also do some Mad Max stuff from Fury Road that I did. I think it's going to be cool, man. I'm very excited about it. So that's in May.
Adam, are you going?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe I'll run into you. I go to Monsterpalooza here and there. Is that your first time?
Yeah, it would be my first time. Yeah. Obviously, I have many, many friends there. But,
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
Right. Yeah, can't wait.
All right. Well, Adam, do you want to whore us out to close us off?
Sure. You can always find us on our website, our main hub of activity, avpgalaxy.net. We are also on all the major social channels: Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, and now Blue Sky. Big thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support what we do here at AVP Galaxy, check out patreon.com/AVP Galaxy.
Well, thank you everybody once again for listening or watching. This has been Aaron Percival,
Adam Zeller,
and Dane Hallett. Wishing you all a very metal Christmas for the year.
Thank you, everybody.